TTL time. Thank you all so much for joining us on this Tuesday and a very, very busy news day it is. You could be watching on the Occupy Democrats Network on the FM AM dial and many other platforms, and we appreciate you being here. And as I speak right now, Robert Hur is testifying about his investigation into President Joe Biden's mishandling of classified documents, and it is backfiring on Republicans like you wouldn't believe. It's going on right now as we speak, and of course, Robert Hur is the guy in his language that said that he was basically a nice old man with some memory difficulty, but boy, is he getting blasted by Democrats. And it's not going very well for the Republicans, by the way, because Donald Trump is facing actually real charges when it comes to classified documents. So they're actually helping the Biden administration and hurting Donald Trump. We'll get to that probably a little bit later, but we certainly have a lot to get to and a lot to talk about. And, you know, what's interesting to me when we talk about the economy, Republicans seem to make it sound like the economy, the sky is falling, right? Joe Biden's ruined everything. But what many of these MAGA Republicans don't want to talk about are actual, real facts. And the fact of the matter is, and by the way, this is an opinion, that we've had the strongest economic growth since 1984. 1984, I was 4 years old at the time. Wasn't really into politics back then. The unemployment rate is down to 3.6% from 6.3% in January of 2022. That's the fastest decline ever. Now, MAGA Republicans will lead you to believe that it's because of COVID. They're wrong. Fact. The unemployment rate is lower now than it was before COVID, when Trump was president. So that argument backfires right in their face based on fact. 7.9 million jobs have been added. That's the most in any year. Oh, but Brian, it's because of COVID. The U.S. GDP is now at 5.7%. That's double the average since 1976. Fact. Wages are up 5.6%. The deficit is down, and I talk about this all the time, 1.3 trillion, the most in any year in the history of this country. Now, those aren't opinions. I give plenty of opinions on this show. Usually they're based in fact and evidence. But those are all facts that I gave you. Those are stats that are factually accurate. You can look them up if you don't believe me. That's why I say every day Joe Biden could run on his record. He's not perfect. I'd like somebody a little younger in office. But Joe Biden can run on those things alone. And while all that's going on, Fox News makes the terrible mistake of inviting Pete Buttigieg on the show. Because Pete Buttigieg is a very intelligent, articulate, well-spoken person. And this Fox News host that was interviewing him just got absolutely destroyed. They have Pete Buttigieg on because they want to try to make the case that Joe Biden has ruined our economy. Well, here's Pete Buttigieg speaking on Fox News talking about the economy.
Economy rebounded from COVID. Let me be clear. Unemployment is lower than it was even before COVID. Stock market is higher than it was even before COVID. And job creation is faster than it was even before COVID. So no matter what rebound effects you're talking about, these are economic results that have not happened since before I was born. Now, in terms of cost, that's been a major issue. And by the way, that's been a major issue in every wealthy country. This is an example of something that was largely affected by COVID.
Well spoken, giving the facts live on Fox News. And here's something that Republicans always seem to want to vote against, and that's lowering the cost of insulin, which Joe Biden and his administration have been able to do.
Is trying to lower costs. Now, look, congressional Republicans were against President Biden when he worked to cut insulin down to $35 a month for seniors. Right now, especially for families that are pressed on costs, we could have insulin capped at $35 a month for everybody, not just for seniors. All it would take is for a few congressional Republicans to walk away from agreeing with Big Pharma and start agreeing with President Biden.
He's 150% correct. Republicans seem to side with Big Pharma, and yet they speak a tough game when they talk to the media. We need to lower the cost of prescription drugs, but then they side with Big Pharma. Joe Biden and his administration and the overwhelming majority of Democrats have been trying to lower the cost of insulin and other medications for decades. Republicans are always the ones that seem to get in the way of it. Why? Because just like they're in the back pocket of the NRA, they're in the back pocket of the pharmaceutical companies. Ladies and gentlemen, Pete Buttigieg is just destroying Republicans and going on Joe Biden's record live on Fox News. And it continues with facts. And at the end of this clip, you could hear the host is just completely dumbfounded.
He was in the House in that State of the Union speech calling for an across-the-board $2,000 out-of-pocket cap, something else that would help in a country where people are feeling the pinch of those prices that went up with post-COVID inflation. Congressional Republicans are standing in the way of it, but he's going to keep pushing. He's trying to get rid of junk fees, taking on credit card companies, because we know that those are something that affects the cost of living. And look, something else that comes into play alongside the cost of housing is the cost of transportation, which is why, after years and years of talk and years of failure, President Biden successfully began to implement the infrastructure bill that is now creating jobs, boosting income, and lowering the cost of our supply chains in every part of the country.
And while all this is going on, and Pete Buttigieg is just destroying any Fox News host that will make it sound like the sky is falling and Biden has ruined the economy, and the dopes out there that are the MAGA supporters that believe it all, while all this stuff is going on and all the accomplishments within the Joe Biden administration, Jim Jordan and the right-wing fools are now in the House chambers talking to Robert Hur, who, by the way, already, even though he claims he didn't necessarily exonerate Joe Biden, they're not filing any charges against Joe Biden with this with this idea, of holding these classified documents. And you know why? You know the main reason why? Because there wasn't any intent. Joe Biden didn't defy a subpoena. When he realized there were classified documents in his garage, they immediately cooperated with the DOJ. The opposite, and Hur admitted this, the opposite of what Donald Trump did, defying a subpoena for over a year. So while these morons like Gymnasium Jordan and James the Dope Comer are questioning Robert Hur because they believe Joe Biden, committed crimes, the evidence is 50 times worse when it comes to Donald Trump. They're actually helping Democrats, and they're helping Joe Biden, making the case that Donald Trump should be going to jail. It's ridiculous. It's insanity. And do we remember when Donald Trump openly spoke about wanting this former Mar-a-Lago employee known as employee number 5? Let him talk. Let him testify. Let him go public. Well, guess what? Brian Butler on CNN just went public. And he was questioned by Kaitlan Collins with this entire story that was spoke about yesterday on CNN. While Joe Biden, they're talking about Robert Hur and Joe Biden today, Brian Butler actually answered questions on CNN, which was aired, Kaitlan Collins doing the interview yesterday. And this is some pretty powerful stuff where Brian Butler is talking about this not being a witch hunt and Donald Trump basically being a liar. Have a listen to this.
I think we can do better.
You're obviously a central witness in this case. If it goes to trial, are you prepared to testify?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
His attorneys are trying to get it pushed, though, past the election. Do you believe that this trial should happen before the election?
I mean, I think the American people have the right to know the facts that this is not a witch hunt. I mean, he can go on and TV and say this. That's one of the reasons for doing this. And quote, the PRA says this and that. It's all bogus. But people believe him.
You think it's a fair investigation?
Absolutely. I mean, to me, you have the law and order president attacking agents, the special counsel, on almost a daily basis. When these people are just taking their sworn oath, they took a sworn oath to basically follow the laws of this country, and now you have somebody attacking them. I don't think that's right.
No, it's not right. Keep in mind, this is employee number 5. For months now, Donald Trump has been saying, let him testify publicly, let him be honest. Well, guess what he is? He just did an interview on CNN, and he's calling your claims bogus, basically calling you a liar, saying everybody seems to believe what Donald Trump says. He's ready to testify in this classified documents case, which, by the way, criminal charges against Donald Trump. Meanwhile, no criminal charges against Joe Biden, but Jim Jordan today and these morons like James Comer are trying to smear Joe Biden. Meanwhile, their guy, the orange turd, is actually facing criminal charges, and employee number 5 is chirping. Just did an interview with Kaitlan Collins on CNN. And here's another interesting part of the interview that I found unbelievable, where he's basically making the case, Mr. Butler, that anybody could have accessed, for the most part, these classified documents.
Who had access to the rooms where the documents were kept?
I don't know if a master key, but I mean, like, I could have went and got a master key to all the rooms, for check-ins. I oversaw all the check-ins with the valets, all of that. So, I mean, feasibly at night, anybody could.
Who made the call where these boxes were kept? The Pine Hall, in the ballroom.
Pine Hall was always guarded.
Who had access to the rooms where?
Okay, so basically, what you heard in that audio is this man, Mr. Butler, saying that anybody had access. Anybody could have had access to these classified documents. We have Donald Trump on tape basically showing classified documents to people that didn't have security clearance. This is a criminal case. What's happening in Washington, D.C. today has nothing to do with no criminality at all. Mr. Hur was asked by Eric Swalwell if he would ever consider a job by the man who is now a liable rapist who's facing 91 felony counts, and Hur wouldn't answer the question. He then asked him, is this the type of person that you'd want to be associated with? And Hur wouldn't answer the question, because I personally believe, as many Democrats believe, that Hur wants a job in the Trump administration if, in fact, Trump wins in November, which I think many of us hope he doesn't. Because Hur doesn't have any credibility. But even the man that didn't have any credibility, that's been brown-nosing Donald Trump and put some verbiage in there in his report that he's basically a nice old man with memory issues, when interviewing Joe Biden in a transcript, he called his memory a photographic memory. And when Swalwell asked him about that today, he asked him, you didn't put that in your report, did you? Why not? No, it wasn't in my report. Because Hur's job was to smear Joe Biden. But even with that being said, there were no charges filed. Jack Smith has filed charges against Donald Trump. Jack Smith is not a Democrat. So again, I say James Comer and Jim Jordan are actually helping Joe Biden in the chambers today, because we're talking about maybe one-tenth of wrongdoing that maybe Joe Biden did. At worst case scenario, he was a little careless, right? But he cooperated with the DOJ. He was careless, but under oath, he answered questions. Donald Trump did the opposite. He defied a subpoena for over a year, tried to hide documents, left documents in his bathroom for anybody to see. We've seen the images of it. Jim Jordan and James Comer are so stupid, they don't realize they're actually helping the prosecution and Jack Smith in the classified documents case against Donald Trump. That's how dumb some of these Republicans are. But there are some Republicans out there that are either resigning, Paxton is stepping down. There are plenty of Republicans out there that have had enough. And even though they might not be big fans of Joe Biden, they've had enough of their party, and they've had enough of Donald Trump to say enough is enough. I'm done, because I'm not going to wear the Donald Trump knee pads. Now, I would consider one of those people Chip Roy, who I do have some respect for, because you hear a lot of these Republicans blaming Joe Biden for all our issues we have at the border. And then you'll have, people out there like Katie Britt. I don't need to go into that Republican response again. I think we all know how embarrassing that was, where they lie and they actually give examples of things that have happened at the border under a Republican president rather than under Joe Biden. We don't have to go back there. But Chip Roy's had enough, and he makes such a great point. And I want to play you this audio because he's reminding everybody that Trump failed to do in the 4 years he was president what Republicans are demanding President Biden to do, which is close the border. Donald Trump didn't close the border. Have a listen to Republican Chip Roy.
Not going to just pass the buck and say that, any president can walk in and secure the border. I saw former President Trump make that allegation earlier today on one of his social media posts. All the president has to do is declare the border is closed, and it's closed. Well, with all due respect, that didn't happen. in 2017, 18, 19, and 20. There were millions of people who came into the United States during those 4 years.
Millions of people came into this country illegally. Now, if you want to play the numbers game, oh, but Brian, more people are coming in illegal under Biden. Okay. Donald Trump had the opportunity to close the border. Chip Roy is 150% correct. Why didn't he do it? Why didn't he do it? So again, Republicans are asking Joe Biden to do something that Donald Trump didn't do. But you won't hear them talk about that. You won't hear them they'll talk about fentanyl, but you won't hear them talk about the fact that more legal American citizens are smuggling drugs into the country than those that are undocumented. Now, I am not going to get into a discussion on whether we should call somebody illegal or not. I got into some discussions with some people yesterday about that. To me, it's not worth mentioning. But what I will say is that it's a lie that Joe Biden apologized, because I did some research on this. He did not apologize for using the term illegal, another lie and misinformation put forth by Republicans. He did not. If you are in this country illegally, you are an illegal immigrant in this country, or if you want to use the term undocumented, I'm fine with that as well. I am not going to get into a word-playing game with people. Yes, they are human beings. They came to this country illegally. Yes, I believe the overwhelming majority of them are good, decent human beings, and we need to have compassion. I'm all for it, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm not going to get into a debate with people whether we should call somebody an illegal immigrant or an undocumented immigrant. There are better things to talk about, okay? There are more important things to talk about. Joe Biden didn't do anything wrong. Mentioning Riley's name, fine, I have no problem with that. I have compassion for her family, but the right and Donald Trump and those on the MAGA right are using this poor young woman's death to score political points and blame Joe Biden. There were horrible crimes that were committed by those that are undocumented under the Trump administration as well. But you didn't see Marjorie Taylor Greene or a Democrat walk in there with a shirt with that person's name on it, the victim, or a hat, because they use people's deaths to score political points. And I can tell you right now, when we talk about gun violence and children that are being mowed down in schools, I don't get the sense that Democrats are talking about 7- and 8-year-olds that are shot and killed so that they could score political points so that their guy could remain in office. I believe that when most Democrats talk about gun control, they actually care. That when Beto O'Rourke talks about gun violence in the state of Texas or anywhere in the country, that he actually cares about innocent lives. Do you really think that when Marjorie Taylor Greene walks into the House chambers wearing a shirt, a Riley shirt, and a MAGA hat, that she actually cares about this young woman? No. She wants to embarrass Joe Biden. That's what she wants to do. She wants to try to embarrass the Democrats when in reality she's only embarrassing herself, because they actually don't care about what's happening at the border. If they did, they would have passed this immigration bill. It would have been passed because, again, Katie Britt and other MAGA Republicans sat at the table with Democrats, and I do give them credit for it, and they put this bipartisan bill in place. And then Mike Johnson said, as soon as it hits my desk, it's done. Why? Because they really don't like the bill? No. Because Donald Trump told them to. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump told them to. And while all this stuff is going on, it really says a lot about a human being with the company they keep, doesn't it? Because Trump hosted Viktor Orban, who is a dictator, by the way. Orban is a bad guy, and he's a dictator, and he's turned his entire country into a dictatorship. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. He said that he doesn't think democracy works. That's a wet dream for Donald Trump, isn't it? Because he doesn't want a democracy either, with all his attacks on this country and our democracy. Trump called him a fantastic leader, ladies and gentlemen, a man who is a dictator. Have a listen to this.
It can tell you a lot about a person who he keeps company with. And yesterday he was hosting at his club Viktor Orban, who says he doesn't think democracy works. Call him a fantastic leader. Seriously. He's been sucking up to win him. Anyway.
Well, Joe Biden is right, of course. I don't even want to play you what Donald Trump said because it's so despicable. But Joe Biden is 150% correct. There is a reason why Donald Trump wrote love letters to Kim Jong-un. There is a reason why Donald Trump has never said anything negative about the murderous, evil dictator in Vladimir Putin. And there is a reason why Donald Trump is sucking up to Viktor Orban, who is a dictator who has turned his entire country into a dictatorship. Because Donald Trump admires dictators, in this aspect, some of whom are evil, murderous dictators. It was Donald Trump that was on a stage 3 feet away from Kim Jong-un holding a press conference. And when Donald Trump was asked about Otto Warmbier, who clearly the North Korean government murdered, clearly, came back brain dead, basically a vegetable. And there's absolutely proof to know that Kim Jong-un and his evil, murderous regime was responsible for the innocent Otto Warmbier's death. What did Otto Warmbier do? He took down a political poster. You wouldn't even get a citation for that in this country. And what did Donald Trump do? When the question was asked, Trump responded by saying, well, Kim Jong-un said he knew nothing about that, so I believe him. When Donald Trump was standing a few feet away from Vladimir Putin and was asked about Russian interference into our elections, which, by the way, our CIA and our FBI, proven beyond the shadow of a doubt, they did it on social media. Now, do I think it had an outcome of the 2016 election? No, probably not. But we do know that Russia interfered in our elections. We know that. How much effect it had is beyond the point. We know, based on evidence, that Russia interfered in our elections. And when Donald Trump was asked about that in a press conference with Vladimir Putin a few feet standing away, what did Donald Trump do? Answered it the same way. Well, Mr. Putin told me that he wasn't involved. I don't see any reason why he would be. Who do you think Vladimir Putin wants to win in the elections? Joe Biden or Donald Trump? I think the answer is very obvious there if you have an IQ over 20. Of course, Vladimir Putin knew about Russian interference. But again, Donald Trump kissing the ass of evil, murderous dictators, and he did it once again, spending time with Viktor Orban, again, who is a known dictator. This is who Donald Trump is. He is a wannabe dictator, narcissist, egomaniac who does not want to leave the White House, and he did not want to leave the White House, and he refused to leave the White House after the 2020 elections. And there were people out there that were right, even people like Bill Maher, who I don't always agree with, who said if Trump loses, he will refuse to leave the White House. Well, guess what? Bill Maher was right about that. And mark my words, if and when, and I believe it will happen, that Joe Biden will defeat Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential elections, there will probably be some sort of insurrection again, or an attempted insurrection or coup. That is probably what is going to happen, and Donald Trump will say it's cheating once again. You know, there are people out there that are complete morons like the Kerry Lakes of the world who could never be taken seriously. She is an embarrassment to Arizona, and she is an embarrassment to this country. Even now, if you ask her about the 2020 elections, even though she doesn't really want to talk about it because she knows that won't help her get votes, and she's an idiot, and that she's lost every battle in the courtroom when it came to her own election, she still says that she believes that there was interference and that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, and she still uses the term rigged. But then when somebody in the media asked her about it, she says now, well, I just want to move forward. No, you can't move forward because you are an election denier. You will always be an election denier, and you're a fraud, just like Orange Turd, who you look up to because you wear the Donald Trump knee pads, Donald Trump Orange Man. You are all election deniers. You are complicit. And you know, there are people out there where I can say, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, really ignorant person, probably very stupid, and she probably believes what she says about Donald Trump and the election denying stuff. She's so dumb, she might believe it. There are a few special ones out there. But the overwhelming majority, like the Kerry Lakes of the world, who once worked in the news business, Kerry Lake knows that Donald Trump lost. And she's continued to do this time and time again with the election denying because she felt like she would get the MAGA base and it would help her win elections. And now slowly but surely they're starting to figure out that, hey, this isn't really working. Maybe I shouldn't bash John McCain. Maybe I should reach out to her daughter. Wow, how well did that work? Her daughter called her a bitch. By the way, it's the one thing Meghan McCain said that I actually agree with. They're finally starting to realize that maybe this election denying stuff doesn't work. That maybe if you perform a sexual act and vape while watching a play, maybe that won't help you get votes. Maybe if you wear a Donald Trump hat signed by Donald Trump in the House chambers during the State of the Union, maybe that won't help you get votes. Maybe if you stand up during Joe Biden's speech and call him a liar, Maybe most Americans don't like that and they're tired of the rhetoric. Maybe. Maybe if you use a murder of an innocent young woman because she was allegedly murdered by an undocumented immigrant and use it to score political points, maybe most of this country maybe they don't believe in that. They don't believe in using one's death to score political points. Maybe Joe Biden should run in his record. Maybe some people are finally starting to understand that Donald Trump is going to be a convicted felon. Mark my words, he will be a convicted felon. And maybe those who have half a brain that believed Dinesh D'Souza and the MyPillow idiot, maybe they're finally starting to come around, some of them, understanding that the 2020 election was won free and fair by Joe Biden, and there was no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Maybe some of them are starting to come around the corner. Maybe there's some hope for some of these people that are not very intelligent. Maybe. With the unemployment numbers as low as they are, and the jobs that have been added, and the GDP at 5.7%, as I mentioned earlier, and wages up 5.6%, and the deficit down to $1.3 trillion, just maybe people are going to start listening to Joe Biden. Just maybe people are going to understand that Donald Trump isn't the wonderful businessman that so many MAGA morons make him out to be. Maybe people will finally start to understand that maybe Donald Trump's not such a nice guy. Maybe he is a rapist. Maybe Donald Trump is an abuser. Maybe Donald Trump isn't a good father, isn't a good husband. Maybe Donald Trump is just a really bad guy who only cares about himself and is a petulant child who is mentally ill. Maybe Joe Biden is a decent man who is not perfect, but the economy has been rebounding and he's a decent man with a decent family. Maybe we could have some compassion for Hunter Biden and understand that this is a man that has suffered from drug and substance abuse for a very long time. Maybe we shouldn't mock somebody for that. Maybe people will finally come around to understand that Joe Biden did not violate the law, that there is no evidence that Joe Biden violated the law. And we are going back to the Hillary Clinton days when the Republicans led 8 investigations into Benghazi and they found nothing. Nothing. Maybe some Republicans out there will start to understand that the Robert Hur testimony today is actually helping Joe Biden, and it's actually helping Jack Smith in his case in the classified documents and the actual convictions, which I think will happen, of Donald Trump in the classified documents case. It's literally helping Joe Biden as we speak. They are making the case that Donald Trump is a criminal and he's going to be convicted. It is a charade what is happening in Washington, D.C. today, and we will take some phone calls on the other side of the break. The number to call, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, now's the time to do so, 702-221-7283. And again, that number is 702-221-7283. A couple things that we're talking about today. Of course, the Robert Hur testimony this morning in the investigation into President Joe Biden's mishandling of classified documents. Hur even said himself that Trump's actions and behavior were the opposite of Joe Biden. Joe Biden cooperated with the DOJ. He answered questions under oath, honestly. In fact, Hur even said it wasn't in his report, but actually said in front of Joe Biden that he thought he had a photographic memory. Why didn't he put that in his report? Interesting, huh? Do you think Donald Trump has a photographic memory? He thinks he defeated Barack Obama. He thinks Jeb Bush got us into the war in Iraq. He can't separate Nancy Pelosi from others, like Nikki Haley. He thinks you need ID to buy bread. Has anyone ever said Donald Trump has a photographic memory? I think not. In my opinion, this testimony is hurting Donald Trump, and it's helping Joe Biden, and it's definitely helping Jack Smith. We're going to take some phone calls on the other side of the break. Again, that number, 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. We'll take your phone calls on the other side. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
The victory. My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Programming note for you. Very popular attorney, both locally and nationally, to give his legal opinions on all of Donald Trump's legal issues. Attorney Ed Bernstein will be joining us in studio tomorrow. Really popular guy, very skilled attorney. So he's going to be giving us his thoughts tomorrow in studio. What are we covering today? Well, I gave you the numbers on the economy, and it doesn't matter. I'm sorry if people feel a certain way. As Ben Shapiro would say, no relation, facts don't care about your feelings. You could feel whatever you like, but it doesn't change the fact that Joe Biden's economy right now is working with the unemployment rate and the GDP, the jobs that have been created, the deficit, and wages up. The facts are the facts, ladies and gentlemen. And again, for people out there that want to say, oh, but Brian, that was coming out of the pandemic, Brian. The unemployment numbers right now are lower than they were before the pandemic. Last I checked, that's when Cheeto Jesus was president of the United States. So we're talking about that, and I'm making the case that this Robert Hur testimony today is hurting Donald Trump, and it's helping Jack Smith and Joe Biden. Why? Because Robert Hur already concluded, while he claims he didn't exonerate Joe Biden, there's no charges that are going to be filed because there wasn't enough evidence to meet that threshold. Meanwhile, Jack Smith has already made that determination. That's why Donald Trump is facing more felonies in the classified documents case, including obstruction of justice. It was Robert Hur today that said, no, I mean, Joe Biden cooperated. He did everything and anything that we asked of him. The opposite of Donald Trump. We're taking your phone calls at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Let's start off with Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from?
I am in Red State Hell, Missouri.
Missouri, all the way from Missouri. Well, thank you for calling in, Barbara. What's on your mind?
Well, I've been watching this hearing in Congress today. I'm sorry, I'm really old, but
that's okay. Take your time.
But anyway, I am true blue Biden supporter, but I'm a little confused by this guy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know because I'm so damn old or if I just don't understand.
Well, tell me why are you confused? I'll try to help you out. Why are you confused?
Okay. Whose side is he on?
When you're talking about a side, are you talking about Robert Hur?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can give you my opinion, and this is an opinion. Now, Robert Hur wants to sound like he's very credible, right? He wants to sound like he's not on either side. However, we learned today Hur wants a job within the Trump administration. He wouldn't even answer the basic of questions of whether he would entertain a job within the Trump administration. Now, if he wants to be credible, then he should answer that question by saying, no, I'm not interested in a job under any president. I'm not interested in a job working in the Trump administration. He wouldn't answer that question, number one. Number two, here's how we know Robert Hur is on the side of Donald Trump. In questioning Joe Biden, he claimed that Joe Biden had a photographic memory. But guess what? That was in the transcript, but he didn't bother to put that in the report. In the report, he said Joe Biden seemed like a well-meaning old man that had memory issues. But yet, in the transcript, when he's interviewing Joe Biden, he said he had a photographic memory. He didn't put that in the report. And Eric Swalwell pointed that out. So if you ask me what side is he on, he's, in my opinion, on Trump's side. But here's the bottom line. Whether he's on Trump's side or not, he decided not to charge Joe Biden. That's the layering on the cake right there. Jack Smith charged Donald Trump. Joe Biden was not charged with any crimes under Robert Hur. That's why the testimony today is backfiring in Republicans' faces and making the case that Donald Trump is a criminal, if that makes sense.
Okay, so basically he's on Trump's side, but he's got some integrity. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if it's integrity. I think he just doesn't have any evidence. You can't charge somebody with a crime when it doesn't meet the threshold. I think it would make Robert Hur look very, very bad if he decided to charge Joe Biden and the evidence just didn't meet the threshold. He doesn't have anything. There was no ill intent by Joe Biden. Was he a little sloppy? Absolutely. Should he have had those classified documents in his garage? No. But as soon as he found out that they were there, he told his attorneys. Everybody cooperated with the DOJ. They answered questions honestly. No harm, no foul. Donald Trump did the opposite. He defied a subpoena for a year. He actually intentionally showed classified documents to people that didn't have security clearance. So I wouldn't say Mr. Robert Hur has a ton of integrity, but I will say that he didn't abuse his power. I'll give him credit for that at least.
Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
That explains a whole lot.
Yeah.
Because generally, people are on one side or the other.
Sure.
I'm very biased towards Biden. I mean, I love him, and I try to tell everybody.
He's a good man. He's a decent man. I'm biased against rapists. I'm biased against people that attack women on looks and go after transgenders. I'm biased against people that are snake oil salesmen. I'm biased against people that constantly cheat on their spouses. I'm biased against people that are bad husbands and bad fathers. I'm biased against people that call our brave men and women in uniform suckers and losers or attack John McCain for being a POW. You know, those are the type of people that I'm biased against. You know, I'm biased against people who have unprotected sex with porn stars months after their wife has a child, you know, so we're definitely on the same page. Joe Biden is a decent man. There's too many people like you and me out there that will not vote for Donald Trump, and they will vote for the decent man who's not perfect over the rapist in Donald Trump, and I appreciate your phone call, and I'm glad I was able to explain that for you, and you have a wonderful rest of your day, okay?
Thank you. You too.
You too. I appreciate your phone call. Thank you. That's what I do on this show. I try to help people out if they're a little bit confused. She seemed like a very nice lady, and I'm glad I was able to explain that to her the best of my ability. 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Joseph, who's next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Joseph.
Yeah, hey, Brian.
You sound like you're in a tunnel, my friend.
Not really. Just outside the washer place.
You sound like you're in a wind tunnel or you're on an Obama phone. I don't know what's going on, Joseph. We got to get you on a better line, my friend. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, anyway, hearing a story about Trump with Orban, or
yes.
as I call him, Bonbon.
Yes.
That's what upsets me the most, because that's what Trump is. Like I say, Trump is trying to start his own active power ever since he started the Mein Kampf that was written by Hitler.
Right. So, Joseph, sorry about that. We had to let you go there because it's really hard to hear you. You're welcome to call back in a better line, but I do hear what you said about Orban. Let's be very clear here. Orban has turned his country into a dictatorship. He is a really bad guy who doesn't believe in democracy. That is the kind of guy that Donald Trump wines and dines. That is the kind of guy that Donald Trump praises. How can you imagine? Can you imagine if Joe Biden did that? And I think we have Joseph back on the line. Go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
I
better.
was outside the outside the laundromat.
That's okay. No
the reason
problem.
But anyway, like I say about Trump reading Mein Kampf, I mean, that's what he was trying to do. Like I always say, he's trying to start his own Axis powers, just like what Germany was doing with World War II.
Yep. I don't disagree with you. And what do you think Republicans would say if Joe Biden had dinner with a Nazi, right, a Fuentes?
Right.
What do you think Republicans would say if Joe Biden was hanging out with evil dictators? And yes, I do believe that Orban is an evil dictator, and praising an evil dictator. What do you think Republicans would say if he was writing love letters to Kim Jong-un? I mean, it's mesmerizing to me. Yet there are Republicans that are MAGAs out there that will claim that Donald Trump is really tough on Russia and Donald Trump is tough on North Korea. There were no wars started under Donald Trump, as if Donald Trump had anything to do with that. It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
And speaking of Trump, that's what I hate. That's what Trump and the MAGA Republicans hate the most, or they're repulsed by those who are born different. They were born with those who stuttered, like myself sometimes. But that's what seeing Joe Biden did with that child who was stuttering, that's the man with decency. Now, that is decency and honor.
Donald Trump just recently made fun of Joe Biden's stutter. And yet the silence from Republicans is deafening, right? I mean, again, I go back to what I said earlier. Imagine if Joe Biden started doing that, started to make fun of somebody handicapped, right? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Donald Trump was making fun of that handicapped journalist and made all those disgusting motions, and Republicans like, oh, no, he wasn't talking about him. Oh, no, he would never do something like that. Donald Trump does it time and time and time again. He'll attack people based on looks. He'll attack people that have issues either with their language or a handicap. They have no control over it, and Donald Trump will make fun of those people. You know, that says all you need to know about who Donald Trump is. He has no moral compass. He's a despicable human being. And quite frankly, at this point, I got to be honest with you, anybody that still supports this man, there's something wrong with them.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Yeah. It's despicable.
Anyway,
Joseph, I appreciate you. I appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you calling back on a better phone. Thank you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And again, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, it's 702-221-SAVE, even though I can't promise to save all of you. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Carl.
Hey, Brian. Always great to talk to the only voice of reason on the radio.
Thank you.
For a change.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, that's true. You mentioned before about her interrogation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get such a laugh out of that. With all the mega people questioning him and trying to make it look like Biden is some kind of a crook or a thief or against the country, and everything that he had stored, whether by accident or not, was immediately turned over to the authorities, and they called in the FBI and whatever. And Trump, they had to, wait forever. They had to even send a team out to raid his place to get some of these papers that were top secret.
Yeah.
And God knows what he did with some of them, or who he related some of them to.
Right.
Probably his best pal Putin, which they're like brothers together, and it's just ridiculous. I get such a laugh out of these Republican senators questioning her.
And it's amazing because a lot of these same Republicans that are they claim they care so much about foreign policy and national security, yet you have a former president who so many of them continue to brown nose, who is praising a dictator in Orban. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. It's and when you ask them about that, they don't want to talk about it, or they'll say, well, words don't really matter. Action matters more than words. That's the excuse that they will make. I beg to differ. While action is important, I look at things like January 6th and I look at political violence. Do you know, there is a state in this country where the Republican Party had like one of those, I forget the word for it, but it was like not a doll, but it was a Biden, like it was a fake artificial Joe Biden, right? And they were it's on social media. You can look it up. They're raising money for the Republican Party, and you give them a certain amount of money. I don't know if it was $5 or $10 or $20 or whatever. So you can beat up Joe Biden. You can physically assault the Joe Biden facsimile. And there's video of this on social media. And I'm thinking to myself, how sick of a human being do you have to be? And how sick does the Republican Party have to be that they would set up something like this and incite what that would, I think most people would consider, political violence? And as Joe Biden said in his State of the Union speech, political violence should have no say in this country, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. But I'm sorry, it seems to be happening a lot more on the right these days than the left.
But if you paid an extra $400, the doll would be wearing gold sneakers. You know
that's
that.
Very touche.
That was very good.
That's very, very true. I mean,
let me say one thing before I leave. One quick thing.
Sure.
I think Trump, with his type of mental condition and the way he acts, if he was living in around the World War II time and was president, I think he would actually want to have a meeting with Adolf Hitler to get his ideas.
You know what? I'm not going to put that out of the realm of possibility. I don't like it when Republicans bring up Adolf Hitler, but when you consider the fact that Donald Trump not only invited Kanye, who had praised Adolf Hitler just days before, but also Fuentes. And then Donald Trump claims, I didn't know who this guy was. Do you remember when Donald Trump was asked about David Duke, right? Now, Donald Trump had been spoken about David Duke very, years prior. He knew exactly who David Duke was, but he was running for president back in 2016. He said he didn't know who David Duke was. That was a blatant lie. And listen, I understand that Representative Bush today, I'm not a big fan of hers, I'll be honest with you. However, she did call Donald Trump a white supremacist, and at a minimum, I would call Donald Trump a white supremacist sympathizer. Remember what he said about the Proud Boys on a debate stage? He said, stand back and stand by. Where the Poverty Center and many others have labeled the Proud Boys as a hate group. But Donald Trump wants their vote. He wants their support, and he knows that white supremacists throughout the country, they ain't voting for Joe Biden. They're voting for Donald Trump. That's all he cares about. He just cares about the votes. Listen, I don't know if Donald Trump is a white supremacist. I can't prove that beyond the shadow of a doubt, but I will say he's a white supremacist sympathizer. There's no question about that. Do I think Donald Trump is a racist? Absolutely. And I can give you many reasons why I feel that way.
Let me finish with just one quick thing. If there were more, let's say, black people in this country and other races than white, he'd be on their side. That's the kind of man and that's the kind of mind he has. So I'll be honest with you.
Agree, Carl.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the phone
You got
call.
it. Sure.
Number to call, by the way, if you want to be a part of the show, 702-221-7283. And again, the number to call, 702-221-7283. If you're just joining us, you've missed a lot. Listen, I gave the numbers, the unemployment numbers, the jobs added, the wages that are up. I gave the deficit, the deficit's down $1.3 trillion. The GDP, 5.7%. These are not opinions, folks. These are facts. And while all this stuff is going on, James Comer and Jim Jordan, what they should be doing is these Republicans, these MAGA Republicans, should all be in a room trying to figure out, geez, what are we running on? What is the Republican Party running on? This investigation into the alleged Biden crime family certainly doesn't seem to be working. Our guy is facing 91 felony counts. He's a liable rapist, and there's a chance that he might be going to jail. Maybe we should change what we're doing a little bit. Maybe what we're doing isn't working, and it's not resonating with the American people. That Katie Britt thing didn't go very well, did it? It didn't go very well. Maybe if we keep saying Joe Biden's in the bunker and he's got Alzheimer's, geez, maybe that's not going to work. Maybe we shouldn't say he was given drugs or cocktails before the State of the Union. Maybe Americans don't like that very much because Joe Biden seemed to do a decent job. He seemed to be okay. Maybe what we're doing isn't resonating with middle America. And that is why I think Joe Biden is going to win in November. I've been very clear on that. And I continue to stand by that. It doesn't mean I'm going to sit here today and take for granted what could happen in November. Yes, Donald Trump could win. I just don't think that's going to happen. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think there's too many reasonable Americans in this country who are fairly intelligent that will not go to the polls, Republicans and Democrats, and will not vote in Donald Trump. I understand that there are the MAGA slobs out there, the MAGA morons out there. In no shape or form am I saying that every single person that is going to vote for Donald Trump over Joe Biden is a slob or a moron. But I will say that at this point, if you are going to vote for Donald Trump over Joe Biden, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. I don't know what that is. Yes, the base of the MAGA Republicans are not very bright. I will say that. The base of those that support Donald Trump are not very intelligent. Most people in this country do not want to see Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. I happen to be one of those people. But I am also not going to sit here like so many of the MAGA deplorables do and call Joe Biden a pedophile because he's not. It's so interesting when I bring up the fact that Donald Trump is a liable rapist, which he is. The argument I get from so many MAGA Republicans out there is usually, well, what about Joe Biden? He's a pedophile. Really, that's their argument. And my response to them, I mean, I wouldn't even really call it a debate, but I was talking to some of these people on social media yesterday. Has Joe Biden ever been found liable for sexual assault? Has Joe Biden ever been convicted of a crime or even charged with a crime? Now, obviously, the answer is no. But these MAGA Republicans can't spell the word fact. And then they'll go to a story that one of Joe Biden's kids wrote about how he used to shower with his daughter. There's nothing against the law that says if your daughter is a very young child that you can't shower with your daughter. But people will turn that into pedophilia, which is absolutely, obviously ridiculous. These are the same people that defend Donald Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, Here's the bottom line. For eternity, Donald Trump will always be a liable sexual abuser. It was proven in a court of law in a jury of Donald Trump's peers. That's a fact. I guarantee you, Donald Trump is also going to be a convicted felon. So if your defense is, well, Brian, that wasn't a criminal case, it was just liable. What are you going to say after Donald Trump is a convicted felon? Are you going to make excuses then as well? Are you going to say, oh, well, Brian, that was George Soros, and those were Democrats on the jury, and that was a Democrat liberal judge? Because that's what these people do. They always try to come up with an excuse. Donald Trump wins in 2016. It was a free and fair election, but he loses in 2020. Oh, the Democrats must have cheated. That's what these MAGA Republicans do. And I think finally I'm seeing some people finally starting to smell the roses, finally starting to understand that the Republicans these days, most of them, have no platform. Or you could make the argument that their platform is let's ban books, let's transgenders, let's ban people from getting gay people from getting married. That is their entire agenda. Let's make it easier for people to get their hands on guns, and let's talk about the Constitution 24/7. Let's make it easier for people to get their hands on guns. Let's make it easier. They don't want to make it easier for people to vote, that's for sure, because they know that'll benefit Democrats. And then they'll lie about the border and say that those that are undocumented are going to be voting for Joe Biden. It is illegal for anybody who is undocumented to vote in the 2024 presidential election. But Republicans don't want you to hear that. Here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take some more of your phone calls on the other side. That number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. 702-221-7283. What do you think about this testimony by Robert Hur this morning? Do you agree with me that I think it's helping Joe Biden and it's hurting Donald Trump, and I think it's helping Jack Smith in his case? Your thoughts on that? Again, that number, 702-221-7283. We'll take some phone calls when we come back from break. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Kelb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
The world-famous radio shopping show weekday on 1400 KSHP North Las Vegas and KSHP.com.
Welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. You could be watching on the Occupy Democrats Network on the FM AM dial here at KSHP, on my personal YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. That's at PTL Radio Show. That seems to be growing by the day. And I appreciate all of you joining us and supporting what we do here. You know, in life, sadly, it's a part of life. You know, we all have to go through grief. And we all have to go through loss at some point in our life. It's part of life. And it's, as I've said before, and I say again, no parent should ever have to bury their daughter or their son. I don't wish that upon anybody, upon any family. And sadly, you know, my family had to go through this, and we're still going through it. You know, I lost my sister last year at the age of 37. And it's not something that you ever forget. It's certainly not something that I will ever forget. And if somebody was questioning me, let's just, flip this on Joe Biden for a moment, if I may, about documents, classified documents, and asked me what day my sister died, I would be extremely offended. In fact, I'd probably be irate and I'd probably storm out because it's inappropriate. Well, guess what? That's what Robert Hur asked Joe Biden. For what reason? If you wanted to ask him about his memory or events that happened in his life, you could have chose something else to do so, even though I think it's kind of irrelevant to this case. Now, Joe Biden responded, and he gave the date, and he said, "Dear God." And my heart goes out to the Biden family. Joe Biden's had a difficult life. In a car accident, he lost his first wife and his daughter. A terrible tragedy. And I think it's one of Joe Biden's best qualities, in my personal opinion. He's a man of empathy. He knows what it's like to lose a loved one. And when he talks to families who lost loved ones, it could be somebody who lost their life serving the country. It could be somebody like George Floyd. It could, whatever the circumstance may be, he resonates with people in loss. And I do appreciate that about Joe Biden. I really do. And I think, as I said before, and I say again, I really do think that's his best quality. The fact that Robert Hur would even ask that question is, in my opinion, is so despicable. And some of these far-right Republicans out there that think it's okay to try to bash Joe Biden and to hurt him in the worst possible way, to me is completely and utterly unacceptable. And it's really sad. And I wanted to make that apparent and clear that that should have no place in our politics. And if Donald Trump is being questioned, I would say the exact same thing. Don't ask about somebody that you lost, what day they died. It's inappropriate, it's wrong, and it's hurtful. And I think it goes to show you Robert Hur and what he was trying to do, and it's really disappointing. Number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, we'll open up the phone lines again at 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. And you are watching the most listened to show, certainly in Las Vegas. And I'm proud to announce, got over 10,000 people that watching the show live, and I appreciate all of you for doing so. All right, let's open up the phone lines again, 702-221-7283. Let's go to JD. Hello, JD.
Brian, unfortunately, what you just said is a direct lie. Hur did not ask him Biden volunteered it. And when he did, Herr said, would you like to take a break, because he thought he was physically upset.
In the
So
in the transcript, he was asked, what day did Bo die? Now, you're the one who's lying, because I will show you the transcript. Would you like to make a wager, JD? Would you like to make a $1,000 wager on this show, and we could donate it to a charity of our choice? Somebody within the DOJ, it could have been somebody working for Robert Hur, but he's responsible ultimately for the questioning. Joe Biden didn't just say out of thin air, oh, by the way, guys, Bo died on so-and-so. You are the one that's lying, sir, with all due respect, not me. Don't call me a liar because you don't know what you're talking about. I'm sick of it. I will with the transcript. Look at the transcript.
Prove it tomorrow.
Oh,
Prove
okay.
it tomorrow.
Sure. And then if I prove it tomorrow, will you call yourself an idiot on the air? How about that?
Exactly. I'd
Will
be
you?
happy to if you could prove it.
Okay.
But you can't.
Well, I
like
can.
your opening
Actually, I
statement
can.
about the
Actually,
economy.
hold on,
Just about
JD. One thing or another. First of all, you're already an idiot. Let's be clear on that. I've been clear on that with you already. Actually, I can prove it because you're not smart enough to understand there's something called a transcript. For you to say that Joe Biden, while being questioned by the DOJ about this case, openly out of nowhere said, oh, by the way, guys, I just want to share you some information. Bo Biden died on so-and-so is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And now you're going to have to call yourself an idiot on the air tomorrow because I will share the transcript in the first segment tomorrow.
Yeah, do that.
I will. Thank you. Is there anything else stupid you'd like to say, JD?
Yeah, your opening on the economy was completely lies, like the State of the Union.
Be specific. What's the lie? Tell me. Where did I lie?
First of all, wages aren't up, and
they're up 5 points. You're wrong. Wages. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Wages are up 5.6%. Okay, so where are wages at right now? Give me the statistics. Compared to where wages were 3 years ago, where are they now?
They're about 3.5 down.
Wrong. They're 5.6 up. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. You MAGAs are all the same.
Liars figures.
Okay, right.
Liars
Pot him
figure,
down
but
for a
figures
second.
don't.
Okay, again, this guy's just going to completely spread misinformation. Let me tell you a little bit about the guy that's on this show right now. And not that I want to make him famous because he's a never was nobody. JD, don't worry. I'm not hanging up on you. I'm going to give you a chance to respond, okay? So let me give you, I just want to give everybody an idea of the type of person I'm dealing with here. So we had Amy Tarkanian on the show last month. I have a lot of respect for Amy. She's a great person. She's the former Nevada Republican chair. So Amy came on the show, and she shares her opinions, and I respect her opinions. She used to be a Trump supporter. She's not a Trump supporter no longer, and she does criticize Donald Trump. So this guy that we have on the line right now, what did he do? Shows you where his character is. He went out and he called Amy Tarkanian's husband, complaining to her husband about her appearance on my show because he was so upset. The snowflake was so upset. And then he spoke to Amy Tarkanian as well, harassing both of them. That's the kind of person that I'm dealing with, and that's the kind of person that I'm talking to on the show right now. So I just wanted to make it very clear who this guy JD is. Hey, JD, are you going to be harassing any more of my guests in the future? I'm just curious.
First of all, if you had an honest conversation with both of them, I did not.
You have
harass
no idea.
either one of them.
You have no idea. You can't spell the word honest, you bozo. You support Donald Trump. Would you characterize Donald Trump, the man who you are supporting, who you voted for twice, since you care so much about honesty? And by the way, Amy Tarkanian was honest on this show. You can't spell the word. But I'll entertain you for a moment there, JD. Since you care so much about honesty, would you characterize Donald Trump as an honest person?
I've known the Tarkanians for
Didn't ask you that
years.
question. Didn't ask you that.
You didn't
Please,
let me refute
pot him down.
it.
Pot him down. I'll do whatever I want. It's my show, not yours, JD. I'm asking you a very specific question because you bring up honesty. JD, the question was, the man who you voted for twice, would you characterize Donald Trump as an honest person, yes or no?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay, so JD, you're either honest or you're not. You're either a liar or you're not.
No.
Okay.
No.
Are
you honest?
Pot him down again. No. What are you, an 8-year-old child? You can't answer a question directly. Anybody with a brain that's not a biased buffoon like you would say, no, Donald Trump's not a very honest person. So, JD, don't you lecture me on what it is to be honest. You vote for the guy who still says he won the 2020 election. So spare me your right-wing nonsense, okay, JD? Spare me. Spare me.
Answer me a question, please.
Oh, sure,
Did
because
Joe
you definitely answer all of my questions, right, JD? You definitely directly answer all my questions.
Did Joe Biden share classified information with his ghostwriter of his book?
Did Joe Biden share classified information with his ghostwriter of his book? It's very possible that he might have done that, JD. That's very possible.
Yes, he did.
Okay, and your point?
Because you claim Trump shared classified information with people.
Hey, JD, here's the difference, you dope. Here's the difference, okay? The difference is that Donald Trump...
Don't you know how to have a civil conversation?
Cut him down. Don't you talk to me about civil conversations, you idiot. You're the one who harassed one of my guests. You're not civil. You're an idiot. So don't you... You begged me. You're the guy that wrote me letters and begged to co-host my show or to host with me, okay? So don't you talk to me about that. You're the one who's trying to lecture me about honesty, and then when I asked you, would you consider Donald Trump to be an honest person, you can't even answer the question directly because you're a bozo, okay? You should be juggling balls at Circus Circus. I apologize to the clowns at Circus Circus. Now, you asked me and you tried to compare the two between Joe Biden and the classified documents case and Donald Trump. Hey, sir, here's a reality check for you, JD. Jack Smith has already indicted and charged Donald Trump with crimes. Donald Trump defied a subpoena for a year, and the man that they are questioning earlier today said that nothing rose to the threshold of criminality in the Joe Biden case. So your analogy is just about as dumb as you are, JD. I'm sorry if you don't think I'm a very civil person. That breaks my heart. Meanwhile, you're the same clown that brown noses and wears the Donald Trump knee pads. Can I destroy you more, JD, or can we end this phone call now? Can we end it now, JD?
Can I speak?
Can you? Well, I just asked you a question, so that would mean that you have the go-ahead to speak.
I never wrote you a letter.
You
imbecile.
left me notes, imbecile. Did you?
I never.
Did you leave me a note?
nothing.
Oh, okay, so now you're a liar. Okay, so let me be very clear. When I was working at another station in town, this idiot left me a note on my desk in the studio asking if he could replace me when I'm on vacation to fill in for me. Hey, JD. You've never been a radio host. You never will be a radio host. Have a nice day. I never invited you to host for me, and I never will because you're a clown and you're an embarrassment to Las Vegas. Have a nice day, JD. Have a nice day. Only a bozo like JD would try to compare Joe Biden and the classified documents case to Donald Trump. Only a bozo would do something like that. It is absurd. It is ridiculous. All right, here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be joined by somebody who actually I do have a lot of respect for. Her name is Dr. Erica Smith. She is running for Council Ward 5. As an African-American woman, we need more people like her in office. We need more voices like her in the political spectrum. Erica Smith will be joining us next. We will take more phone calls on the other side, hopefully better phone calls than JD. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance.
It is pushing the limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. So much going on in the news. We talked about the Robert Hur testimony. And there's a lot going on in the world right now. Certainly a lot going on in this country. Meanwhile, Donald Trump hosting Viktor Orban, the dictator, who openly said he doesn't think democracy works. And we've been taking your calls at 702-221-7283. I love talking to new candidates, older candidates, people that are running for office that are good, decent people, people that are educated. And the lovely lady we have in the studio with us today, her name is Dr. Erica Smith. She's running for Las Vegas City Council Ward 5 as a Democrat, and I always love talking to people like this and picking their brain on what's going on, not just locally, but on the national front. Erica, it is a pleasure to have you in studio for the first time. How are you?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for having me, Brian.
Of course.
I am doing amazing, and I'm so glad to be here today with you, ready to get into it, ready to have a little bit of conversation. And yeah.
Poor Erica had to be sitting in the green room over there while I was loudly screaming at a caller. I hope you're not scared by that. But, you know, some of these MAGA callers drive me crazy, Erica. They really do.
I am never scared.
Good. You know, let me start by asking you this. Why do you think that there are so many few minorities in the Republican Party? You're running as a Democrat. There's a wide variety, which I want to see, you know, of people in the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
But we don't really see many of those people within the Republican Party. Sure, there's a few, you know, but why do you think that is?
So you mean as far as diversity?
Yeah, diversity, yeah.
I think because of some of the rhetoric that's going on now with the Republican Party, I think they have to take a closer look on how they can basically be more inclusive, maybe recruit minorities, Black people, Asians, Hispanic community. And so, but I think that they're lacking because of some of the things that they're saying.
Now, I know you don't speak for everybody, but I get so confused and I kind of laugh at the fact when there are few, but some that happen to be minorities that say Donald Trump did so many great things for the Black community. And I kind of scratch my head and I say to myself, what? He had the whitest administration in the history of this country, number one. Let's just start there. When you hear somebody that happens to be Black, or any minority for that matter, make a statement like that, what do you think?
Well, the Black Republicans that I know personally will tell you that what they like from the Republican Party is the fact that it's less taxes, that they can keep more of their money. So that when you have especially Blacks that are of a higher caliber, or they're bringing in a large amount of money, the Republican Party does tend to be a little bit more attractive from a financial standpoint. I didn't say a social standpoint,
Sure.
but a financial, okay, I can keep more of my money. I don't have to give as much of my money away to the government. So those are things that I hear the most from Black Republicans.
So I think, that makes sense. I think there's a couple different types of maybe Trump supporters, and then we can talk about something else and get off the Trump. But it seems like there's a portion of those Trump supporters that are in a cult that believe everything that Donald Trump says. They think that, you know, he's never committed any crimes and he's a good guy, and you know, they buy his sneakers and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And then there's maybe some people that you talk to that are educated people, but they believe maybe if they're wealthier than the average person, that they're going to be able to keep more of their money in their pocket because of Donald Trump's policies. And I say, this is just my personal opinion, that's not good for the country. like to give wealthier people tax breaks. And I think Joe Biden said this in his State of the Union, where, a middle-class family shouldn't be paying the same taxes percentage-wise that a Fortune 500 CEO is paying. And I think most people would agree with that, but I think it's selfish if you disagree with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see your perspective on that, but it's just people want to keep more of their money. It does seem to be a little selfish, but people, if you want to keep more of your money, then that has in the past and currently that is the party that you would probably rock with.
We need to do that with people that have a whole household income of $50,000 a year or under. I'm all for it. But I think if you're doing very, very well and making a lot of money, I don't want you paying a lower percentage than somebody making $25,000 a year. And I think most Democrats agree with me on that. And I think a lot of Republicans disagree with me on that.
Well, what happens is because they have more access than the average Joe, they're able to hire the CPAs and people like that to be able to really help them navigate. It's only because they know they have people that can help them navigate that system.
Right.
So when you don't have as much money, you don't have someone to help you really navigate and really understand tax law of that caliber. So that's the only difference, is that they have money to be able to navigate the tax system. They have someone that understands it. Average person doesn't understand. Okay, they'll go file their taxes with H&R Block, or Jackson and Hewitt, and they take their W-2s, and that's the end of it.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you there. By the way, if you're just joining us, Dr. Erica Smith, she's running for City Council Ward 5. I was pretty offended when Donald Trump was speaking on a stage, and he tried to compare himself to people who look like you. And he made the case that, because he had the mugshot and because he claims he's been treated unfairly by the DOJ and all these people, that he tried to compare himself to black people who have been oppressed. And I was offended by it. I'm very white. I was offended by it. What, as somebody like you, a very educated lady, you've done very well in your career, when you hear Donald Trump talk like that, what's going through your mind?
I was equally as offended, if not more so. And the reason being, when you're talking about crime, and you're saying that you now can step in the same shoes as my ancestors and me, or anybody that looks like me, it's like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about.
No, so. He's been a silver spoon in his mouth his whole life. He doesn't know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck like normal people, no matter what the color of your skin is.
Right. He doesn't know what oppression is.
Right.
Black people, we live that every day.
And you know what frustrates me so much? There's a lot of things that frustrate me. But, Erica, when I bring up January 6th, right, to a Republican or a MAGA Republican, I shouldn't say Republican, be fair, a MAGA Republican, they bring up Black Lives Matter protests. And I say to myself, let's forget about the violence for a moment, because I'm sure you don't condone violence. I don't condone violence.
Absolutely not.
Of course, we would never do that. But you had tens of millions of people that were protesting for equality. I was one of them, okay? The overwhelming majority of those people were not violent people. They just want people to be treated fair, regardless of what they look like, by law enforcement. I think that's honorable. And then you have a bunch of people on January 6th who didn't like the outcome of a free and fair election, and they tried to overturn it. There is no comparison there.
Absolutely not. There's no comparison into what we say Black Lives Matter and what they stand for and why they're out there marching and walking and protesting, as opposed to what we saw happen on January 6th. There's no comparison into even the things that we're even talking about. And so, there's just no comparison.
It just gets me so frustrated when they bring that up. And it's like, I watch, I have to, I'll watch a little CNN, I'll watch a little Fox News, because I do like to hear the other side.
Absolutely.
Right. And I notice on a network like Fox News, they'll constantly show, and you tell me if you disagree with this, but they constantly seem to want to show black people committing crimes, right? They won't show a white supremacist committing a crime or a white person rarely committing a crime, but they'll make it sound like in New York City, it's only black people that are committing crimes in this country, or those that are undocumented, right?
Or they use Chicago.
Right. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because when I talk about gun control, Erica, What about the black on black crime? What about it? There's white on black crime. There's black on white crime. There's white on white crime.
Absolutely.
Who cares? It's crime.
It's crime.
Right? Why do they do that?
It's crime. And I mean, absolutely, I don't want any crime.
Right.
That's why you hear me talking about public safety, because that's one of the things, being able to partner with our law enforcement. But that doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and be like, okay, it's okay to beat up on black people, because I'm be like, no, that's where we're going to draw the line. Yeah. But I do believe that we have to have public safety. We have to have those partnerships where we're building trust in communities where there's been a lot of distrust.
Yeah.
And so that's very, very important.
I agree. And, I do talk about systemic racism on this show because I do believe it exists.
Absolutely.
And what I try to tell people, Erica, and I try to listen to people like you, and that's where I learn, I don't know what it's like for somebody to pull me over because of the color of my skin. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's like to be in an electronics store and have somebody follow me because of the color of my skin. But you know what? I understand that people like you have to go through that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
And there's so many people in this country that don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, try walking around in a designer store or walking around in a retail store and one of the employees following you around to see if you're stealing. So yeah, people, I actually have gone through that before. My mom and I, so I've seen that, being and getting pulled over by the police and just being super, super nervous.
And I understand.
Because those are realities that brown and black people face, right? We have to be cognizant, not that we're doing anything wrong, but just because we know the legacy of it. We know the history of it all on what that looks like when we get pulled over. And I'm going to be more nervous than someone that looks like you.
Which is very understandable.
I'm
nervous when I get pulled over by a cop, right?
Right. Because you don't know. You could say, I'm doing all of the right things. Because people say, well, you just follow what they're saying.
Yeah.
You could be all the right things, and that thing could go so left.
Sure. Obviously, in a perfect world, I want everybody to comply, right? Some people don't comply. Obviously, people are nervous. I remember there was a story in Arizona, a white guy with his girlfriend coming out of a hotel, and cops had guns pointed at him, and he was on his knees, and they were telling him to put his hands up, and he was lifting up his shorts, and one of the officers shot him and killed him. He lifted up his shorts, Listen, being a police officer, as you know, you've talked to many law enforcement. It's a very difficult job, and I think
I have family that's in law.
Yes.
My grandfather was, he was a deputy sheriff in the state of Florida. We would go to the Black Deputy Sheriff's convention every year with him. I have family right now that serve as law enforcement.
That's awesome. So you know how hard the job is.
I know how hard the job is.
Right.
So I don't have anything against the police. They have to know that I want to work with them. I want to make sure that our communities are safe. I want to make sure that they're doing the right things by the people.
Right.
And I mean, that's all I want to see, just holding people accountable. Like, are you doing the right things? Making sure that there's no discrimination going on, making sure that you aren't just pulling people over for sport and killing people for sport.
Of course.
Yeah.
So when you see somebody like a Larry Elder or a Candace Owens or a Leo Terrell, by the way, I've interviewed all of those people. I believe they are opportunists in that they don't even actually believe the stuff. Leo Terrell used to be a Democrat. Then he calls
So is Candace Owens.
Correct. And then Leo calls himself Leo 2.0 so he can make more appearances on Fox News. Candace Owens can sell her books, which are terrible.
Absolutely.
And Larry Elder becomes this popular conservative host. I don't believe they actually believe. When Larry Elder, and on this show, I had this debate with him, and Larry says he doesn't believe systemic racism exists. And I brought up the Ahmaud Arbery case. And I said it wasn't just 3 Klansmen, basically, that lynched this poor young kid who was just jogging down the street, but it was the entire city. They took that entire murder and put it under the rug. And I asked Larry Elder, if those were 3 black people that killed a white person in the way that this young man was killed, you don't think they would have been arrested that night? And he wouldn't answer the question. And
they would have been arrested in 5.2 seconds.
Agree.
And let me tell you something. I live close. My hometown is St. Mary's, Georgia.
Ooh.
So Brunswick is probably about maybe 40, 45 minutes away. So it's very, so I know that area very well. I go up there.
A lot of racism around that area?
There does tend to be some racism, but I'm gonna let y'all know it's some good food there too. A place I like to go when I go home called Old Timers Buffet. I eat there like twice when I go in December.
Yep.
And so, but I know that area, and it's funny because when that happened, my parents and I were headed up to Brunswick, and they were pointing out the area that it happened.
Oh wow!
And it's just that area, you know.
But, you know, all the police officers, many of them saw the video.
Yes.
And by the way, if that video didn't exist, those people would not be in jail right now.
Absolutely.
The only reason why they're in jail is because the person who recorded it released the video to a news organization.
Yes.
So they lied to Ahmaud Arbery's mom and family about how he died. They said that he was the aggressor and he started it, basically, and that's why there weren't any arrests. Ahmaud Arbery did not have a violent criminal history.
No.
He had one minor arrest for something very minor. He was jogging down the street and lynched. And when I say system, it wasn't just the 3 men. It was all. There were 11 police officers that saw the video that night. Not one arrest was made. The sheriff and all they knew exactly what happened. The higher ups in that entire district. And they did nothing until they had to, until the video was released.
Yes.
That's a system that failed Ahmaud Arbery and his family. That's why I say systemic racism.
Absolutely. And that area, being that I'm from that area of the country, even my dad's gotten pulled over in Kingston, Georgia, which Kingston, Georgia is now basically on the map for having a lot of issues with the police officers pulling over people, making up stuff. It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of conservatives when I do talk about these issues. Oh, come on, we gave you the first black president. It can't be that bad. I hear people talk like that. And then my response is, or, you know, forget about my response. What would be your response to somebody like that because I get this all the time on this show and even off the air. Oh, we gave you Barack Obama. Stop your complaining. We gave you a black vice president. And by the way, the disgusting remarks that are made about Kamala Harris are just, there's a radio host in this town who makes the claim that she slept her way to the top. And I'm just like, how do you even allow that stuff on the air? It's so bad.
Yeah, my thing is systemic racism is still very much alive and well, unfortunately. It's something that we still deal with. Even here in Vegas, we know they call it the Mississippi of the West. And there's been a lot of things that have happened that let you know that those systems are still in place.
What can we do? I think while things are better, right, than they were maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, there's still a lot of work to be done. I think there are far more good people in this country, no matter what the color of your skin is, that want equality. You see, you know, and they want everybody to be treated as equals. And I commend that, and that's what we want. How do we get there? Do we need to continue to call out the bad behavior and the rhetoric? What can we do? What do you think we can do as a country to continue to move forward in the right direction?
We have to keep fighting. We have to keep fighting. John Lewis says we have to keep making good trouble.
Great John Lewis, great man. Yep.
Yeah, we have to keep making good trouble because it's not an easy fight. It's a fight that we've been dealing with. I felt like maybe we progressed a little bit, but then we went backwards. And now we're kind of back at the place where we just have to keep fighting. We can't say, you know, we can't give up. We have to say, okay, boots on the ground.
Go ahead. Yep.
And for myself, heels on the ground to just making sure that people are treated fairly and justly. There's so much discrimination on so many different levels that we have to stay really, I know some people don't like to use the word woke, but when we say that in the black community, what we're really saying is we stay woke because we have to stay aware. We have to be in tune with literally what's happening.
Right.
And so you spoke about Kamala. As a matter of fact, I met our beautiful vice president.
I saw pictures of you and her.
On
That's awesome.
Saturday.
That's so
and
great.
I was so excited. I got an invitation to attend the rally in North Las Vegas this past weekend.
Where was my invitation?
I don't know. You're
Next
gonna have to ask.
I would love to
the
meet our
Nevada
vice president.
Dams. Like, where is my invitation? But it was great to meet her. We're in the same sorority. So we're both members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So it was a pleasure. I was coming from sorority meeting, and so it was a pleasure for me to get in the same picture with her, and I spoke to her.
What'd you guys speak about?
I just told her, I told her, hi. And I told her, I said, we're in the same store. She says, I saw your dress.
That's cool. You know, here's what I'll say about our vice president. I've always said this about her. I have a tremendous amount of respect for her. She's a very educated woman. She's worked hard in her life. And no, I don't think anybody gave her anything.
Oh, definitely not.
Just same way I feel about Michelle Obama. Very intelligent. But this is a criticism I hear from a lot of people. And at times I've given her the criticism of, she's not great with the media. Her interviews sometimes don't resonate. Doesn't mean she's a bad person. Doesn't mean she's obviously very intelligent and educated. That's my criticism. I think she's not great with the media. I'd like to see her out there a little bit more. That would be my criticism of her. And again, I think I have a tremendous amount of respect for her. I certainly a lot more respect for her than I'd have for a guy like a Mike the Stiff Pence. But I mean, I think Kamala, she's a very lovely lady, nice family. I don't know. That was a similar criticism I had for Hillary Clinton, who very educated, overqualified woman, at times just didn't resonate. You think that's a fair criticism?
I think that is a fair criticism. I have heard that. And I think as far as Madam Vice President, I think that they weren't really letting her out as much as I felt she should be out. And that wasn't really her fault. I think now they're realizing, okay, we have to put her more out in the forefront.
Yes.
And I think the people do want to see more of her. They want to see more of her personality, more of who she is, more of what she can do. And I think, as far as being good with the media, I think that's kind of sometimes it's not so easy for everybody to be in front of that camera.
Sure.
Me, I'm a natural.
Sure.
I love being in front of people, and I'm very comfortable. But not everybody's comfortable in that space, and that's something that she's maybe going to have to practice a little bit.
And in the world of politics, if you have aspirations of one day being the president, being the vice president is quite an accomplishment.
Quite an accomplishment.
And I respect that a great deal. But yes, I do think that's something that they need to get her out there a little bit more. Why don't we take a few phone calls? If you're just joining us, it's Dr. Erica Smith. She's running for Las Vegas City Council Ward 5. And I love talking about these issues with people that certainly know a lot more about it than I do. And I love to listen. 702-221-7283. And the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-SAVE. 702-221-7283. Let's start off with Al. Hi, Al. You're on with Erica Smith. Go right ahead.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. I got the worst reception. I hope this goes through. And I respect your candidate that's running here. She's running for city council, and I understand that maybe in some other areas of the country, law enforcement is the problem. But I'm a big advocate for Metro, and I think we have a fantastic department here. I think they're very fair. I happen to be a person of color, if you want to call me that. I'm of Mexican-American descent, okay? And I think that people have been treated very, very fair. I think we got one of the best, if not the best. We were like the 7th largest police force in the country. And under our present administration, under Kevin McMahill, we don't harass people, okay? We're very good. We've had like 7 major national events. We won a hockey game. We had a New Year's Eve party. We had the Super Bowl here. There was people were attacking people from Israel, Jewish people, throughout the country, throughout the world, and everything went safe. Okay, and we have a Latino community engagement that I'm going to probably be inviting Latino police forces from all around the country to see the great relationship we have with the Latino community. And I personally feel, and I'm a little irritated, I personally feel if you're going to be running for city council here in our county, that you ought to be addressing the issues that are going around here, not around the country.
But why can't you do both? Well, Al, hold on. Al, first of all, and I don't speak for Erica. I want her to respond to this, but I don't think Erica ever said there are not good people in Metro. In fact, we have said the overwhelming majority of law enforcement do a great job, but that doesn't mean we can't call out bad things that happen in this country. Now this is maybe
no, that's fine. Okay, that's fine.
But what's wrong with? I
just want to make sure. I just want to clarify that that's not going around here.
No, I understand.
And we don't want to give people the impression here that that's what we're doing around here. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Maybe she ought to give some credit a little bit to Metro.
Well,
that's what I wanted to say.
I'll let Erica respond to that, and then I'll say something else. Go ahead, Erica.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Al, for calling in. And I wasn't speaking on our Metro here, because I love our love Kevin McMahill. He knows who I am.
As do I. Yep.
Yeah, he knows me. So I definitely think that Metro here in Vegas, we are doing a great job. We're doing a great job.
Thank you very much for saying that.
Yeah, exactly. And I respect you from the Latino community especially. So just know that I love you guys, and I am ready to serve. And I would love to come to any events that you have, as well as, you know, come and sit down with you as well. If
well,
you
I'm
would
going to
have
be
me.
speaking. I mean, I'm on the internet, and I'm going to be speaking tomorrow at a conservative organization that's locally, and I'll put that on. And I would love to meet you. But,
I would love to meet you
that, you know,
too.
we're working very, very hard to have Metro have a good image.
Absolutely.
And maybe we will be. I think we're going to be the best managed inner city in the country. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So, Al,
I lived in Newport. I lived in Newport Beach for 38 years, but I grew up in L.A. 18 years old. I got a scholarship to go to Irvine. And I've seen both sides, and I don't want us to become the next South Central.
Al,
I'm
I understand.
staying and fighting for the inner city.
I want to make sure you have my phone number, Al,
Yeah,
because I want you to contact me.
Sure.
So I can come, and I think I'll have time. I don't know what time. What time is the event tomorrow?
The event's going to be sometime around 5 or 6. It's the conservative something group. I'm going to post it on PTL, and then Kevin,
and then I'll give it to Erica.
You can send it to you.
So,
but anyways, I just want to
say one more
Metro,
thing.
We have a great law enforcement.
Listen, Al, I agree with you. So does Erica.
Yes.
Here's where I disagree with you a little bit. You said the things happening nationally are not necessarily happening in Vegas. I'm going to give you a few examples. And by the way, this has nothing to do with law enforcement. You have the head of the Republican Party here in the state of Nevada that, in my opinion, is a criminal that was part of a fake electorate scheme with 5 others that were indicted. You have Michelle Fiore, who has shamed Republicans for not supporting her. You have Republican Sigal Chattah, who's the assistant to the guy in charge, who said she wanted her black opponent hanging from a pole. So you can't tell me that some of the MAGA Republicans in Las Vegas or in the state of Nevada are not doing what they're doing across the country. They are despicable.
Okay. Let me tell you something. We do have, maybe let me rephrase that. Maybe I got a little sick. Because, for me personally, anybody, if I feel that Metro is being
I understand.
offended, I'm going to speak up because I've been a big supporter of them.
And
I don't, I see how they treated minorities in South Central, and I don't want that to happen.
Al, first of all, you listen to this show, you know that I've had Kevin McMahill on the show a number of times. I love Kevin. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. I like him a lot better than Lombardo, who I don't think is a bad guy either. I think the overwhelming majority of Metro, I agree with Erica, they're good people and they do a great job. I'm just saying politically as a whole, some of the issues that we're facing nationally, we also face here, which are lunatic far-right Republicans.
You're right. Some of the issues we're facing nationally.
Fair enough, Al.
Okay, but, she's running for council.
Understood.
And I was hoping that, what she's going to do for our community. That's what I'm looking for.
Understood.
And, even though I can't vote for people, I do endorse people. And if I give somebody's my support, that's worth about 1,000
Well, I'll tell you
votes
what,
right there.
I'm glad she's on the show. You guys will maybe go to an event together. And Al, I do appreciate you calling in. We're going to get to some other calls, but I'll link you guys up. Okay, Al?
All right.
Thank you,
Al.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the phone call.
Thank you very much.
In
All
no
right,
way,
bye-bye.
shape, or form do you or have I ever bashed and generalized police officers who, by the way, I have the you know what I do, and I know you do this probably as well. When I see a police officer, I do my best in a restaurant, shake their hand. Hey, thank you for what you guys do, because the overwhelming number of police are good people.
Absolutely, and I understand they have a very hard job. They're putting their lives out there. They are out there in these streets, and anything can happen.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I have family members that are in law enforcement right now.
We just want to get the bad apples out. And, I talk about great policing on this show, too, like the UNLV shooting, where those two officers, they're heroes and they saved lives in October 1. There were a little bit of bad policing, but a lot of good policing, saving lives. And I talk about that on this show every day. We can do both. And that's, I think, what we were trying to convey. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next up. Hi, Mark. You're on with Dr. Erica Smith, who's running for office. Go right ahead, Mark.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Dr. Smith.
Hi.
So I apologize for this bad joke, but I want to sink my teeth into a couple of issues, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And, one is that part of the problem with policing in this country, as we know, is there's 125 guns for every 100 people in this country. And so on both sides, when police are doing a traffic stop or anything like this, and the windows are tinted and so forth, they always have to assume that there might be guns in that car. And it would be great if we could start to address that issue in the sense that how do we say in my case, how could I let the police know ahead of time that I don't own guns, I'm not interested in them? So if I do get pulled over for a traffic stop, which I try to avoid, that they would be much more comfortable in that situation. And for the black community, would something like that might help a bit as well, foster those good relations. It's like, hey, I know this person, I know the car, I know that I don't have to worry about those particular issues, and take the temperature down. The other thing I want to mention is just for you is that city government works much differently than, of course, the federal government does for taxes, and we have to operate within the budget.
Yeah.
In terms of what we can do. But at the federal level, if you don't mind, Dr. Smith, there's a very good economist. She's a woman, so she's much smarter than the boys. Her name is Stephanie.
I like you already.
I don't mind. My wife puts me in my place just about every day. So
yes.
Dr. Stephanie Kelton is her name, an economist, and she wrote a bestseller a couple of years ago called The Deficit Myth. And it really turns everything we think we know about how the federal monetary system on its head. And in that future where you're running for maybe federal office, I would hope that you would take that with you and hopefully educate the old white males up in Congress as to why they're completely wrong about that, as well as how they treat the black community.
Let's let Erica respond to that, Mark. What do you say to that, Erica?
Well, first of all, Mark, I love the compliment he gave me, because he took me from city councilwoman very quickly to probably sounds like congresswoman. So he sees some future things for me, and he's giving me some tools and resources I need to, like he said, sink my teeth into to really, I'll start with to really understand all the things. And so the first question was, he wanted to know, is there something we could do in terms of taking the temperature down so that the officer feels safe approaching that vehicle? They know that there's no weapons is there something that we could implement to maybe say, okay, this car, this vehicle is a safe vehicle. You don't have to be worried, and you can have a different approach. I think maybe, I don't know, I was thinking while you were talking, I said, well, maybe we could put some kind of sticker. You know how we have the stickers for registration? Maybe we could have some type of sticker that says, I don't own, something that lets them know I don't own any.
But here's the problem: you never know, a police officer
know.
never knows who they're approaching, so it's a very difficult situation. If you notice, a police officer is trained when he comes to your car. You could be violent or not. They're always going to have their hand on their pistol. They're told to do that because you literally have split seconds. Sadly, if something like that happens. But Mark, I do appreciate your call. Really good questions. And Mark, you live in Vegas, right?
Yes, I do.
There you go. Another good vote for you. So there you go. Mark, I appreciate you. It's good to hear from you, Mark. Thank you so much. We get calls from all over the country, so I always never know where
so it's nice to have people from Vegas calling in. Absolutely.
I'm going to open up a can of worms here because we only got about 5 minutes. But what do you make of reproductive rights, and what do you make of those on the Supreme Court, the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and women now in some states in this country not having the right to get an abortion?
Ooh, you are opening up a can of worms today. Oh, my gosh. So, it's funny because I grew up in a world where there was Roe versus Wade. It was already in place. I was born in 76. So it's funny because I don't know a world without it until we didn't have it.
Right.
And so you have these young ladies growing up, and especially when we're looking at some of the places down south. You're talking about Mississippi and Alabama where, they don't have. We're lucky here in Nevada. that we do have those rights in the Constitution, that we don't have to worry about, okay, someone's just going to come along and be able to take those away. So I think those are the things that make Nevada different and a safe haven for women to come and say, okay, I've decided to terminate a pregnancy. And, you know, when you decide to terminate a pregnancy, that's not an easy decision for any woman.
Right.
It's a hard decision. Sometimes it's a health reason or a medical reason why they have decided to terminate it, because something's wrong with the baby or there may be some harm to the mother. And so those are things I think we have to take into consideration as well. But yeah, it's hard to say, wow, we really don't have Roe versus Wade anymore.
It's insane. I didn't think in our lifetime we would ever see this day. But
well, I don't know, because they have been saying they were coming after, and I always tell people, when people tell you or they show you who they are, we know Maya Angelou said that, believe them the first time. And they have been saying that they were coming after that. So when you're hearing politicians or you're hearing political parties say what they're going to do, believe them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. And like some of them that want to take away our Social Security, Medicare, they'll say, "Oh no, we don't want to do that." No, there is a portion of the Republican Party that does want to do that.
Well, because they have older people too. They have elderly people. My
Yes.
parents are both elderly.
Yes.
And they rely on those programs.
Yeah, well, guess what? The overwhelming majority of people in this country, both Republican and Democrat, want a woman to have the right to choose, and that's why it's a losing cause for Republicans, especially what's been going on in Alabama.
And they are kind of stepping away from it. They know that it is a losing cause, and so they're kind of like, even the way they approach it, the verbiage they're using, they're being very careful about regarding abortion, because they really do know it's not a popular.
It's a losing cause.
It's a losing
There's
cause.
There's always
for
going to be
them.
the extremist Republicans out there, but it's a losing cause. I want to give you the opportunity now, Erica, to give out your information. How can people learn more about you if they want to donate to your campaign, or they just want to contact you or learn more about you?
Yeah, and for Al, I hope that he's still listening.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, great. I want to make sure he has my phone number where he can call me directly.
Great.
My number is 702-550-9447. If you're looking to know more about me, and I really would love you to donate to the campaign as well, you can go to my website, which is www.ericaforlasvegas.com.
Is that a number 4 or FOR?
I'm going to spell it out right now.
Good.
So it's ERIKAFORLASVEGAS.com. So go to ericaforlasvegas.com. You can see my bio. You can see my platform is on there as well. But at the top, you guys, is that donate button. And you know I need your help.
Yes.
When you have candidates coming and they're trying to get their message out, or you want to hear more from that candidate, you need to help them get their message out by donating. You can also give in-kind donations as well. Feel free to contact me.
EricaForLasVegas.com. That's EricaForLasVegas.com. Dr. Erica Smith. Now, Dr. Smith is going to be back in studio very, very soon. This won't be the last time you come in, and I've really enjoyed the conversation. We need more people like you in office. I don't care whether it's for, city council or for mayor or for governor. I don't care. We need more educated people like you, especially more females in office, I would say. We have too many guys in office. We need more females. Erica, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, and we'll see you again soon, and thank you so much for coming in and talking about a lot of difficult issues, a lot of hard-hitting issues, and I always appreciate that. All right, everybody. Attorney Ed Bernstein in studio tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media, or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow?